Welcome to day 3 of landscape painting challenge. Today's Spartium, lots of yellows. I applied masking fluid on the flower that goes all across our landscape palette from yesterday and day before. There's still blue colors and green colors, taking round synthetic brush number 9, applying water to blue mix where we have ultramarine blue, cerulean, and adding more of ultramarine blue with a little amount of water, cerulean blue. Second is ultramarine blue with a touch of cerulean and adding more of ultramarine blue with a touch of lemon yellow for warmer part. Now to painting process. Applying water, be sure that your water is clean after mixing watercolors, and I'm applying water on the whole area of sky. We don't have that area too wide, too big, so we can go in one take. Even that we have stem in the middle, we could paint one part and then the other, but we can manage all in one. We can freely paint over masking fluid section, but be careful with horizon line. We don't want to step over it. Taking ultramarine blue with cerulean, there's definitely a touch of manganese violet from previous mixes, and applying starting from the upper part, which is darker one, using round synthetic brush number 9. So I have big and bold brush strokes and I can make a really smooth layer of sky. And a lower part is ultramarine blue with touch of lemon yellow and very, very pale. The horizon line is much, much lighter compared to the upper part, which is closer to us. And carefully smoothing together, adding a little bit more of ultramarine blue on the upper part to make it more intense and more darker, and to have transitions from darker to lighter. Now let's mix for land color, adding perylene green, a little bit more of perylene green, water. I want to have intense color for landscape, especially the one that is lower and in the middle, adding transparent yellow. And the second mix, sap green, adding a little bit of water as well, and a touch of lemon yellow, because there's a lot of yellows in the background. Separately adding Indian yellow in case I will be needing it even more for landscape area. And perylene violet on the side of palette, a little bit more if we need to add to the green mix to make it more earthy, more darker in some parts. Now the sky area is completely dry, and for the furthest part of land I'm taking sap green and lemon yellow mix and add sky color to make it warmer. Also the amount is very pale. And at this moment, I realized that I forgot to apply to cover all area with water, but we can do that. That's what I'm doing right now, applying water and then going with watercolors, sap green and lemon yellow, applying more water, smoothing the applied watercolors. Darker part starting from middle area, and we can freely paint over flower area because it is covered with masking fluid. This challenge is about exploring, trying, and I've never painted botanicals with landscapes in background, and this is not quite as a landscape whole painting. It's more as a sketch and more as a background color, but for now, in the first days, I like to play with that and see how it will go, how it will complement the flower. and embracing new challenges, new techniques, new styles is always a little bit scary. You don't know how to quite approach, how it will turn out, and for now I'm just letting go my perfectionist, who is quite struggling these days because it's always challenges are more about quick painting, quick sketching, and the result is not as perfect as I would like to be, as I'm used to be, that the results are more predictable when I'm doing it slower and a little bit more think through the whole process. And here my perfectionist is struggling because I need to go into action at that day. I need to give answers immediately. I need to paint now. I need to paint this. And this is quite challenging indeed. Adding more of perylene green and transparent yellow to the lower part. Moving quite quickly to cover all area while it is wet, so I have smooth background and smooth transitions. Everything after drying should be quite smooth and even, covering all area. And as we reach closer to the horizon, there's much lighter area, not so intense as it is in the front part. Adding a little bit more of darker at the lower and middle part. There we need to go even darker. This photo reference looks beautiful because of the contrast, yellows with dark green background. Now a moment has passed and my paper is completely dry. Adding more of perylene green to mixing palette, sap green, a touch of perylene violet, and applying with big round synthetic brush number 9, adding more layers to the middle part. And here I decided to play a little bit with texture, that I have dry surface and big bold brush strokes. What can I get? What kind of texture? What kind of result? This is you are trying. Don't be too focused on perfection. That I'm telling also myself. And try new things. Even if it doesn't work out, don't get too focused on the result. That I'm also telling myself as well, because with botanical painting, you know approximately the result because you are aiming for the reference in front of you. And with looser, with more sketchier painting, it's not so predictable at all. Applying transparent yellow and Indian yellow to the right side where we have more of yellows, slightly blending layers together with moist brush, adding more watercolors. Here you can leave as it is, you can go into detailing. If you are already familiar with landscape painting, you can go much into detailing. You see that in reference there are darker parts and then on top lighter parts, so you are painting in between those lighter parts. You can go more into detailing, but I'm aiming to leave smooth and fluffy background, and we'll go more into detailing with flowers. Applying more watercolors, building layers. Paper underneath is completely dry and I'm smoothing edges of applied watercolors with clean and dry brush. Taking Indian yellow and now trying stippling in some colors. We see in the middle there's a lot of the same flower that I'm painting more detailed. There's a lot of bushes in the background. And the aroma of this flower was amazing. If you drive by with car and the windows were open, I could feel the aroma of these beautiful, bright, sunny flowers. This moment brush is almost dry and I'm stippling in Indian yellow. Some dry brush strokes to create textured lines. So it's up to you. You can try things, experiment here. It's not that we are aiming for exhibition level result. Challenges are not about that. Challenges are about experimenting, about pushing ourselves, trying new ideas, see what works, what doesn't work. Adding indigo to my mixing palette, transparent yellow, and perylene violet. Perylene violet or alizarin crimson or perylene maroon will give more earthy color to this green. And I want to push more in the middle part with the green background. This will really make flowers look more brighter. The darker the background, the brighter those yellow flowers are going to be. It's not about the color intensity of yellow flower. It's about how dark the background is. The darker, the brighter flowers are going to look. And as this is sketch and I have a limited amount of time, need to finish this in one day and make a recording and do a voiceover. So even those flowers in the front, they're not going to be super detailed. This is also going to be a sketch, but more a realistic sketch. Now everything is dry. I waited good 10 to 15 minutes and now we can remove masking fluid. Be very careful when you are removing masking fluid. As I started here, I was doing it with finger, but the color on top of masking fluid was still wet. It wasn't drying. And here, with this flower in the middle, I smudged some part of watercolors. Right now, as you can see, just because on top of masking fluid there, the paint doesn't dry. So be careful with that. Further, I will go with just pulling off masking fluid. It pulls off like a plastic wrap. It pulls really nicely, but yeah, I just realized why I don't like masking fluid, and I use it super rarely, just because sometimes it's so unpredictable. Yes, here I realized that you can nicely pull it off, and I forgot about that. It was a long time ago that I was using masking fluid, and I know that I can remove that smudge of watercolors from the metal flower. And here I will show you how I will remove it. I have magic sponge, clean, dipped in clean water, and carefully I'm brushing off watercolor spot that accidentally appeared on this flower, because this flower is yellow and it will never, yellow pigment will never cover that amount of smudged watercolors. If that would be, I don't know, red, blue, or green area, there would be no problem, but with yellows it's a big problem to have something dirty underneath or graphite lines underneath. Everything will be visible. So for flowers, I'm taking lemon yellow. Second mix, lemon yellow with transparent yellow. Third is transparent yellow with a touch of manganese violet. It creates a really golden, shadowy color. Testing on a piece of paper together with lemon yellow and seeing how these both mixes are going to look together. With yellow pigments, it's very tricky to get the right shadow color. And for the stem area, I'm taking sap green together with lemon yellow, a little bit more of lemon yellow, and a touch of alizarin crimson to make it more earthy green. Let's start painting process. Using finer tip brush, painting one section at a time. Botanicals are different than landscapes when you can wet all surface and then boldly go over the whole surface with big brush. With botanical painting, small fine tip brush, each section painted separately. I applied lemon yellow and transparent yellow with manganese violet on the left side where the shadow area is, and green part using sap green, lemon yellow, alizarin crimson. Carefully adding, trying not to go over the edges, because there we have blue color, and if we will go over with light yellow layer, then we will have green edges. So be careful. In this case, it's even better to leave 0.5 millimeter of the edge. Even if there will be white edge, it will look better rather than you will go over the edge and create crisp and darker line. Painting stem with sap green and lemon yellow, alizarin crimson. When you add red pigment, be very careful. Is it cadmium red, alizarin crimson, senolia red to any green mix? Add it in super tiny amounts. Red can instantly make green look brown, but we want to add just a little earthy touch. Moving on to next flower and looking at reference all the time, looking where are lighter, where are darker areas, and applying lemon yellow as the base. And we have shadow lemon yellow with transparent yellow and transparent yellow with manganese violet. Here I decided to apply lemon yellow on the whole flower head area because I was painting each section with lemon yellow, so I decided to paint whole area and then after drying to add shadow parts. As flowers are dry, adding more and more layers of shadow and glazing over clean lemon yellow for more intensity, and this lemon yellow pigment gives vibrancy. These flowers becoming more shinier as I apply another layer of lemon yellow. Technique for each flower head is the same. Carefully study reference where you see shadows and applying them on the dry surface. Zooming out, adding sap green to lemon yellow and alizarin crimson, and adding stem with finer tip brush, carefully not going over the edge. Take a look where stem is in the shadow, where flower are casting shadow on stem, and with fine lines giving crispness to the stem. Because it's so thin, it's important to have this stem super thin. To my bigger mixing palette, I am adding more perlin green. Now we will add final details, the foliage that we see on the left and on the right and above. Adding a little bit of indigo to make it darker, and perlin maroon. Now I have a really dark mix, and using finer tip brush, I will add leaves that we see on the reference photo to give some extra details for this painting. And just before I wanted to do this, I noticed that I need a little bit more shadows on another flower head. Watercolors are amazing that you can at any moment add something. If you are painting transparently, you can add layer after layer, and paper will receive many layers as long as you are giving it rest time to completely dry, and then you can add more. And with shadow, we are separating petals one from each other, flower heads one from each other. And now let's do foliage that we see that is much darker on the left, on the right, and above. And as I'm painting, I noticed that my foliage that I just applied is very crisp, very intense, looks from distance super detailed, but in the photo still those branches that are coming into reference are far away. The flower is the closest one, so I can't make them look so crisp as the flowers are. So I waited a few moments for those leaves to completely dry, and with clean, be sure that your water is clean, and big brush on the dry, super dry surface, I apply a glaze of water so that my leaves, dark intense leaf, slightly become blurry. So this layer of water takes away the crispness and intensity that was, and it's becoming more smoother, but still not losing the details. Be careful, be sure that your water is clean. If needed, check. Maybe you need to blend and smooth edges of applied water so there are no crisp edges after drying. Checking everything, looking, maybe removing, maybe there's a little bit too much water, you can remove it with paper towel. Even go over the whole area and dump a little bit with paper towel to make it even more blurrier, but keeping the intensity. Thank you for following this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed this day 3, and see you tomorrow with new challenge and new assignment.